Hi, everyone. You are listening to the Sleepover podcast. I am Carolyn Elliott.
And I'm Laila Bernard.
And this is really exciting. This is really our big slutty podcast because we are
Laila and Carolyn's big slutty podcast.
Yeah. Exactly.
We're not changing the title. It's still called Sleepover Podcast, but the big slutty episode.
This is the big slutty episode. Part one. This is a big slutty episode because we have more guests than ever here with us today. We have guests who have been not only participants in Sleepover Mystery School, so they're initiates of Sleepover Mystery School, and they have also just now been through our ritual training that we offered here this past week.
Exclusively to initiates of Sleepover Mystery School.
Where we gave them all of the backdoor secret, backdoor
Yes, we lifted the veil as much as was appropriate, and then maybe even some. They got to look up our skirts in a very intimate way, and now many of them are going to be continuing on helping us, supporting us in the leading of future mystery schools. And we just wanted to, let you guys all get a chance to meet them and feel them and get a little bit more of a taste for the magic that we do here all together in Sleepover Mystery Culture.
Yeah, Sleepover Mystery Culture, exactly.
It's taking off.
It's so taking off. Okay, so I figured that we would just pass the phones around and let everybody just say hi, say their names, just introduce yourselves.
Oh, just so you all know, we are recording on two phones so that the thing that happened last time where our phones didn't work won't happen again. We're taking precautions for you, dear listeners.
So, hello there. I am Tanya, and I am an initiate of Sleepover Mystery School and loving it.
Thank you, Tanya. So we have Tanya here with us.
Hi, I'm Thomas, also an initiate, and I'm originally from Belgium. How about
Thomas
that?
came from around the world to come to all four of our immersions.
And no regret.
Oh, I forgot to say I'm from Alabama.
Yeah, that's good.
Alabama.
That's nice. Tanya from Alabama.
Hey everyone, my name is Danny. I am from California, but live in Vermont.
Welcome.
Welcome, Danny.
Welcome, Thomas and Tanya.
Hey everybody, my name is Lisa, and I am a military brat, so I am from nowhere and everywhere, but I currently live in the wild desert of West Texas.
And I'm Brody. I'm living in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Thank you, Brody.
And I'm Imogene, and I am not a military brat, but I am also from everywhere and nowhere for various reasons. I currently live in Lynchburg, Virginia, though.
Great. And actually, we did pass the phones around for that, but I just want to assure everybody that these phones are actually quite good at picking up the conversation. And for our listeners, we are on the south side of Pittsburgh, and there are trains going by. I don't know if you can hear those in the distance. And we also have Lulu with us playing with her toys, so you might hear some Lulu toy noises. But,
Welcome to Malkuth.
Yes. So, Laila, do you want to take control of the conversation?
Well, we just wanted to have all these lovely people who took the plunge speak to perhaps reasons that your totally logical, very reasonable, modernly conditioned brain might have told you that it was a stupid, frivolous, horrible, insane decision to join a mystery cult, and why you are so fucking glad that you did not listen to that madness. And anyone who wants to Danny, I see you snapping with enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Maybe you'd like to take us off and...
Yeah, I can hop in. So, I think what came up first was for me of why it made absolutely no sense to even apply for this was that I had no frame of reference, no scholarly understanding. That story in my head of you're gonna go and be the random person among these great people who are already supposed to be there, and you're like, what am I doing? I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't really know why I applied, but it was just this pull of I am in a dark night of the soul and I have to be there. And you guys guys felt that, and we're like, oh yeah, you do need to be here. And it was, to date, one of the greatest surrenders and decisions of my life.
Would you just tell us more why it ended up being such a great decision and such great medicine for your dark night of the soul?
Ooh, yeah. That's a little hard to put into words. I guess I'll just share blanket that I'm a very like visceral, physical, like energetic experiencing sort of person. I didn't have a sense of why I needed it, like intellectually.
Maybe could you describe the moment when you realized that you had made the right decision? Like what was going on in the moment where you were like, oh yeah, glad I did this.
Yeah, I mean, I was like energetically completely blown open in the first immersion. And all of a sudden these people that I was kind of shy and not sure about, I just knew like, oh, I'm meant to be here with them. In a sense of assuredness I had never had in my life. Mm-hmm. And, I just knew that there was so much depth in the surrender that I was in, and so excited to keep surrendering to it. And like, I think that was the first moment of like true, like tapped in understanding of the potency of surrender.
Thank you, Danny.
Sexy. Yeah, Tanya.
I have a thought. Okay, so before applying for mystery school, I thought to myself, I mean, I really wanted it, but I thought to myself, how much will it be? And can I afford it? With my previous work that I had been doing with Carolyn with Wealth and Electric Yes, for the first time in a long time, I had been able to call in, I'm an artist, and I had been able to call in commissions, like large scale commissions, where I was making good money. But other than that, I was making good money at that time. But other than that, it was just enough for me to live, and not necessarily, it was either like, do I continue to live in my van and go to mystery school? Or do I keep that money for myself and not go to mystery school? Do I just, you know what I mean? It was just like one of those things, like I can go to mystery school and spend, and be in that position, and I thought, well, fuck. What am I really want this. Does it make sense? And people are like, yeah, you really need to do, be responsible with your money and do, the things in your life that, what are you going to a mystery school for? What does that even mean? And I just felt it in my heart, my soul, and my gut. So I made the decision, which I do not regret one single bit, not 1 ounce do I regret it. And I knew when I met everyone, the other mystery school people and the leaders of the mystery school.
On the first night?
On the first night. Well, it was the first 2 days. I had dreams for years, 20-something years, of dreaming about having the most joyous play with all these friends that I had. I didn't know them. I didn't know who they were. When I woke up, I just remembered how much joy I had. And these were repetitive dreams, throughout my life. And when I got here, I was like, these are the fucking people I've been dreaming about all this time.
Me too, Tanya. That happened to me also. I would dream of being in these amazing improvisational theater group games with 50 to 100 people, and I felt so close to them and so delightful, and then I would wake up and I'd be like, where are the love? Where are they?
I just want to say right now that Tanya's crying. On the podcast, that Tanya is actually crying right now.
I'm often brought to tears by this school.
And I just really want to congratulate you, Tanya, for making the cooler choice.
I will take that.
And I think that's such an important thing about doing magic and about tapping into becoming your higher self and doing the great work is really sitting down at those decision points in life and being okay, So when I tell the story of my life, what will I feel better about? Will I feel better about making this like responsible decision that like every single other person is telling me to do? Or will I feel better about being like, yeah. And then there was this point where like I could have stopped living in my van and got an apartment, but instead I joined a mystery. Like that's so much cooler of a story in the end, and like that is wealth beyond measure.
Yeah.
It really is.
Choosing yourself.
Yeah.
Choosing yourself over the shoulds, I think. And it's like that's a huge monumental decision that changes everything in your life.
Yeah. Lisa, would you tell us?
Right. So that's exactly what I did. I was just thinking, like, I had never actually taken anybody's workshop. I'm a crazy information person. I'm a reader. I listen to podcasts. I felt like I'd been practicing an alone spirituality because, like, there wasn't anything that was my flavor, like kinky, weird, fun, crazy, earthy, like, but also deeply spiritual, hugely powerful, like nothing. And I had heard Carolyn's podcast, and was like, who the fuck is that? Like, this voice that sounded like that's the person. These are the people I'm looking for. And
you mean this podcast or Carolyn's previous version of the podcast?
Is she Tim Ferriss? Were you on with Tim Ferriss or someone from
I was
Austin?
not on with Tim Ferriss. Wait, somebody from Austin.
I think so. I feel like it was.
Well, it happened.
It never happened, and I totally hallucinated.
I wish I was on Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss, here I am.
I agree.
Tim.
Carolyn, 555.
Or Aubrey Marcus, maybe Aubrey Marcus.
I also wish I was on Aubrey Marcus. I just reached you through the ethers.
Okay, anyway. Yeah, and so I found myself, I was like, I'm going to take a course now. I read the book. I got offered my dream job out of the blue, literally like, whoop. I had, at the perfect moment when I ran out of money from starting my own company. And I was like, what the fuck? What is happening? And so, I took a course, which I had never taken anyone's course ever. And it was about planetary magic. It was influence. I was like, oh my, I'm like, how did I not discover like witchcraft, wizardry, and magic in Thelema before this? Which is an interesting question. But and then I didn't even have a question really. As soon as the course was announced, I was
Sleepover Mystery School?
Yeah, Sleepover Mystery School was announced. I'm like, I'm fucking doing that. And I didn't tell anyone. I was just like waiting for it to be open so I could say yes. I guess the resistance is like I had never spent that amount of money on myself. And that's what makes me emotional. It's like this, like I'm doing this for myself. Fuck you all. Like I'm choosing me, and I didn't even know what it was, but I knew the feeling of magic, sacred, profane, like a place where it felt like I was going to be able to be myself and also expand into my power, like have an actual practice. The thing with books and podcasts and like there isn't there's a transmission through the book, but there's no way to have, I didn't even have a daily relevant spiritual physical practice before. It was all in my interiority. So anyway, I just.
And then what happened for you from going to Sleepover Mystery School?
And dumping $10,000 into your spiritual vessel.
Yeah.
I feel like I am finally surrendering to my power in the best possible way. And the biggest challenge for me, interestingly enough, is I can very easily be social, but it is really hard for me to be close because I was a military brat. And so then we had all these exercises that were like getting to the rich deepness of people right away, and I was simultaneously terrified and almost to the point of an anxiety attack. And at the same time I was like, this is the only way I'm going to break through my aloneness, is to actually practice these deep things with other people. And at that first mystery school I had a huge breakdown after a meditation at the end, and this big grief came out from these synchronous things that triggered the grief from losing our first baby during childbirth. And I'm a sensation slut, slap me up, like punch me up. Like if this can move me to my healing and to these gritty places and this juiciness with these super smart people that I probably never would have discovered because we're all so different and yet the same. Like I was like, this is it, and I'm simultaneously completely enraptured and seduced and terrified because I don't know if I'm ready to love life myself and people this much because it's scary. And I feel like I've gone through this whole cycle through all the schools and the rituals of surrendering to the death of love, like the death of love of myself, and also like bring it on, I'm going to embody, and I have a responsibility to the bodhisattva vow. I have the responsibility now. I'm not going to hide. I'm not hiding in the background anymore. I'm not doing that to myself.
And you're glad that you put yourself through this experience.
Oh no, it's torture. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, it's exquisite. It's exquisite. It's like being roasted on the spit of your desire. It's exquisite torture. It's wonderful. My life is totally different, and I can't even wait to see what's gonna happen. I can't even wait to see. I'm like, holy fuck. When you wish upon a star, it's no different who you are. When you wish upon a star, your dreams come true.
Like, thank you for the personal concert.
Well, I suppose I'll go next. Sitting next to Lisa here.
Go ahead. Who are you again?
Oh, I'm Brody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Brody.
Hi.
Brody.
Yes, and to me, it was a little bit more of a lark. I was more interested. I just turned 50, and I wanted to have an adventure. And I wanted to do something completely different, but I also wanted to have some like purpose to it. I didn't want to just travel to a country and like bum around. I mean, that sounded fun, but I'm into personal growth, and anyhow, I've been listening to, reading the emails, and I just really connected with frankly, the irreverence with which these serious spiritual topics are being addressed, and which really resonate with me and sort of my own personality, where I just don't like stuffy people that take themselves way too seriously, which tends to be most serious spiritual adepts and stuff. They feel just like it just gets dry somehow. And this felt so juicy and interesting and sexy and hot, and so I was like, well, I've never, again, either spent this kind of money on myself. Like, it was definitely a stretch for me to be like, okay, I guess I'm I don't know if I can do it, should I do it? It's definitely not a responsible decision. I'm not one to just, quote unquote, throw money away in a sense, but I just decided to, it felt like you were talking about electric yes, and like, I just like, checked in, and I just recognized that I had an electric yes, like in my being. I didn't know why, but I just was like, yes. And I'm coming from a more Eastern tradition, so I threw some I Ching just to like get a little quote unquote objective read from the universe. and it was like super auspicious. Like everything was like green lights, do this, and that like tipped it over the scales for me. I was like, okay, well, I have no idea what this is going to be or what it is exactly, but that sounds actually kind of really fun. I'm like, that's all the more adventure, or I'm like, surprise me, delight me, let me see what this is all going to be about. And so, and I don't know if I had expectations, but my expectations were met and exceeded. I had, first off, like a ball. It was so much fun. The first immersion, I was immediately like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Like, I really loved it. I'm into like it. Like discomforts that were part of the sort of facing. Really, when we say discomforts, and I think this is true for all of us, it's really the primary discomfort is like the intensity of the intimacy that this demands of you. Like, who are you? Tell us, like, reveal your shit. Like, come out and like get naked, it metaphorically and or who knows, maybe even literally in front of these people and just share yourself. And that's like terrifying and it's intense, but at the same time, that is the juice of life, and it really connected us all in these intense ways. What I didn't anticipate was the emergence of like a genuine community of people who I just love and connect with and have as like feels like family to me at this point. That is such a delight. And also just in my own personal life, it's hard to know if I could necessarily ascribe it to daily, regular ritual practice, which again, I also was not something I never imagined myself as a like ceremonial magician, but here I find myself as like, highly initiated ceremonial magician. And, I fell right in my face into the mystery, and the mystery spread its legs, and I dove in.
As you should.
As I should, and I highly recommend. It is warm, and juicy, and great in here. And what I found is that as magic seems to be magic, like completely unexpected changes have occurred in my life. Unanticipated opportunities have just sort of emerged and presented themselves in my life, and I find myself now in a place that I never would have dreamed possible for myself in my professional and personal life. That it's just so fun to be in this, like, it makes me just very excited and interesting to see what other madcap adventures are barreling down upon me from the universe, because they're definitely unfolding for me since I really kind of committed to going for it, and so that's where I land with that.
So bottom line, you were super irresponsible.
Absolutely.
And was it worth it?
Without question.
Great.
It was absolutely worth it. Like, you couldn't put money to this, like the way it's like affected me, and what the gifts that I've received in multitudes of manners is like, it's truly, you can't buy this kind of a thing, but I guess you can.
The price of $10,500.
Carolyn, timing, you guys. Carolyn has been joking all weekend that she's like, "Eat it, Elon Musk. I'm the richest woman in the world." All the like super juicy love and appreciation that we've been sharing in our magical order is just like
it's
real
priceless.
wealth.
It's
real
real wealth. It is real wealth.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, I have some friends of mine who are also who do a lot of workshops, and they're like, "How much was it again?" And I give them the number, and they're like, "That actually is cheap."
You weren't here first, folks. Paid actor.
Like, there's a lot of other programs that are a lot shorter, a lot less personally immersive, a lot less transformative in intense ways, and they cost even twice as much.
What? We are like super greedy mega whores.
I can't believe you guys are giving this away like this.
For so little. Generous.
Kind of,
Generous.
Yeah, folks, Alina keeps telling me to raise the price by like $10,000. So everybody get in now before she gets through to me. And it's like $20,000 next time. So like,
I'd say it probably would still be worth it.
Yeah, it would be. And I think,
100%.
yeah.
We did not pay these people to say this. They are saying this of their own volition.
You cannot actually put a dollar amount on it.
Yeah.
You can't put, like, there's topical transformation and there's like alchemical transformation.
Internal.
Thank you, Danny.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And there's no dollar, like, it's invaluable. It's priceless.
Yeah.
But it's so fun to be with just a group of people who's all doing it at once, just like popping off.
Everyone's coming at the same time.
Yeah,
I feel like I see Thomas over here with an energy, an aura of like leaning in, and so I just wanted to direct. Thomas came from Belgium.
Yeah,
Thomas.
the Belgian dude.
He sounds weirdly American, but that's part of his
Yes, I'm seriously from Belgium, and that was part of my process because it was in the middle of COVID madness. So I was like, how? And there were no refunds. So I thought, this is such a gamble. Like, my flights are going to get all canceled. There's going to be so many restrictions that I don't know yet. Like, this is impossible to plan. So this is just not the right time for this kind of thing.
I remember your interview, Thomas. I remember your interview and just like wanting you to come so bad. Like, so bad.
Why did you want him to come so bad?
I don't even know. I think it was your beautiful, piercing blue eyes, and I think it was your like sweet earnestness about it. I just was like, please come, Thomas. Please. Please.
And then you asked me, how much do you think it costs? And I was like, let me just guess an amount that I think is too high, but then to show that I'm willing to do it. And I guessed $3,000. And I was so convinced, because I had never done a program like this. I have no idea how much these things cost. And I was also thinking, like, my flights are also going to cost a ton. So my guessing was way off. And you were like, more like 10,000. So I was like, fuck, that's not an option. I don't have that money. That is more than double what I thought. And that was already like a wild guess. And yet, I still knew, just like I had that same pull that Laila had, like, but I need to be here. So I was like in a real state of complete disorientation and confusion about it. And then Carolyn made a video about, because there were more people like me who were like, I really want to do this, but I don't think I can afford it. And the tip she gave us was to really feel into the desire itself, and to allow that sort of guide however you thought about fixing that financial problem. So I did that, and I had like a wild somatic bursting open where I really allowed that desire in. And that's when I realized, fuck, I don't do this. Like, I am apparently not a person who feels into what I want. And that made me so... That was a very painful experience, because I knew then that I had organized and lived my life in a way that did not match what I wanted.
Well, and you were like a Thelemite already.
Yeah.
And then you were like slapped in the face with the realization that you're like, I don't even pay attention to my desire.
Right. So I thought then, having felt that in my body, how cruel would it be to myself to say, well, I'm just going to ignore that, because it was so obvious that it was just piercing through my entire being. And that's when I knew, shit, this is a real thing. And yes, I've read a ton, and I've been like a scholar of Western esotericism, so I like knew a bunch of stuff. But I knew that, oh fuck, this is going to be the real thing. This isn't going to be me reading a book. And they promised some heavy shit on that website. Like, yeah, we're trying to get that union with your holy guardian angel. And I knew what that meant, probably more than anyone else joining. And I was like, shit, that's a big goal. And yet they didn't offer any guarantee. So it was like very enticing. And without revealing anything, like, yeah, it was the real deal. And that meant a lot to me, because I was on my own, like Lisa. I guess I identified as a Thelemite, but I never sought out any other group, because I just intuitively knew, no.
Will you tell us more about your credentials, Thomas?
Yeah, Sleepover Mystery School came after like 10 years of reading and just developing intellectually, and I guess I knew a lot, and I also studied esotericism in Amsterdam, so I have like an actual degree in it, which
what
is
your
ridiculous.
Degree in, Thomas? Please say that for the good people at home.
It's called, well, it's religious studies, but I specialize in Western esotericism. And if you want to study that, you can go to Amsterdam. The University of Amsterdam offers it.
And if you really want a taste of it, you should sign up for Sleepover Mystery School.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's a completely, like Lisa said, you can know so much, but my somatic understanding was completely at zero. So I had to actually also start from scratch with all of these people, regardless of everything that I knew.
Interesting.
Wow.
And then I got the experience I had been craving for 10 years, which I was never able to produce on my own, because of course you can.
Yeah.
So that process of surrender after 10 years of trying on my own and failing, and then chasing that desire and receiving it, that was like the biggest medicine I could get. And we're now a year later almost, and my life looks completely different, and my heart feels completely different, and that's the kind of medicine that I desperately needed. And I didn't even think that was possible after 10 years, and I received it.
I have a question, Thomas. I'm curious, when did you know that the aim that we had set out to like bring forward knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel, when did you know that like you were receiving that?
Well, for me, it was two things. It was the actual ritual aspect, and no spoilers, obviously. But it was so incredible because I knew Golden Dawn ritual. I knew the inspirations these guys were pulling from, so I had high AF expectations. And to be in the middle of that ritual dimension and to feel, oh my God, this is it. And I felt like transported back to like early 20th century, like 1888 Golden Dawn opening, and I felt like this is that. This is what I thought was lost to me. I've missed that era, so it's gone, and I was there. That I never expected would happen in my life. So just so you know, this is that. This is that.
There's one thing about talking about something and reading about something, and there's another about being immersed in a living current of the actual mojo washing over you in a group setting, like the potency of like group of ritual. Like it's really not to be underestimated.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so it is wild to think back to roughly a year ago and think that it's only been a year, because I could never. I've been writing pages and pages. I've got a novel-length manuscript of everything that's happened to me that's been wild and magical and mysterious and insane and unbelievable ever since then. But at the time, rewinding, I was in a pretty dark place, having decided to leave an intentional community that my family and I had been a part of. Probably the deepest dark night of the soul of my entire life. And I realize now it's because the choice was not just to leave a community, the choice was to break a karmic cycle that I know for my soul was ancient. And I was super addicted to it, and I had been super getting off on it, and thanks to finding existential kink 4 months prior, so it was like June of last year, that my brother said Carolyn's name to me and told me about her book. And it was like, then I followed her on Instagram, and then everything fell apart in my life, and my community was basically like, you suck, get out of here. That's not literally true. If any of you are listening, not sorry, but that was my internal experience, and I was like, it is time for us to go. And it was horrible. So when I saw the ad, the very first hint that Sleepover Mystery School was coming on Carolyn's Instagram page, I remember it vividly. I was in the bathtub scrolling Instagram when I saw the ad in like neon colors, and I read what it was, and I think you can even scroll back and find my comment where I was like, yes, this is for me. I'm gonna be there. Like, there was just no question in my mind whatsoever.
That's just the hot tub at our Airbnb because we have the best parties.
That's Blue Man just turned on.
Blue Man just turned on. Yeah.
Katie's with her. Okay.
So there was that initial like sacral yes, absolutely. I was obsessed with Lisa Frank as a child, so those neon colors really were just like, hello, this is for you. I mean, on top of many other things. But then, to answer the question about
the rational thing that told you it was insane.
Yes, there were many of those. So many of those because I was in such a low point, especially, that I was like telling myself all kinds of stories after I decided to apply, and I did. I was thinking, like, oh, and then I did the interview and I found out how much it cost, and it wasn't way beyond what I expected. I just was really intimidated by that because, like literally everybody else here, that was a huge deal for me. Had we not magically discovered a literally forgotten nest egg that had just been sitting in my husband's parents' files for the past 40 years that they forgot about, and then we're like, oh, we found this, here you go. I would not have had the money. I don't have the credit to get a credit card, so it would not have happened for me. So the universe literally was like,
here you go.
Here's the money. Here's the thing. And then there was the interview, and after the interview, I did go through a panic where I was like, all the other people there are going to be really, really rich, and I'm not, and I will not fit in. All the other people there are going to be, like Danny said, like these like really cool, high level, like master magician, or like whatever they do. I just like envisioned it as being like people who are like super successful and cool, and
and it is that. I mean, like let's be real.
Yeah. But I was seeing it's about how I was seeing myself is the thing, and I was seeing myself as like, well, I'm just a mom I have an 8 and 4-year-old now, so 7 and 3-year-old then. And I don't have a job. I like sit at home, and I'm not even a very hands-on, like awesome A+ mom. I don't love playing kid games. I love thinking about things deeply, and that's how I spend most of my time. So I was like, whenever people ask me what I do, I hate it so much because I'm like, I sit around and I read things and I think about things and I know things. So
you know a lot of things though.
Well, thank you. But just my low opinion of myself at the time led me to believe that I just was not going to fit in. I couldn't afford it. It was an irresponsible way to spend money that, like, I had told myself was not mine, but was my husband's. And I told myself I was going to say, when I was accepted, I told myself I was definitely going to say no. Like, I just couldn't do it. And it wasn't just the logical stuff, it was a sense of dread that built up. And I realized that I have this skill now, but I'm a super, like, psychic as fuck witch, and I knew what I was in for on a psychic level. And I was dreading this level of love and intensity and magic and synchronicity and awareness of the truth. Just for fun, I think that my soul was just like, why don't we just dread this for a little bit? So I was in this state of dread where I was like, I'm going to read, and I opened my email to try to send a letter to say no, and I just could not, like, I physically could not do it. I could not make my fingers type the words, I'm not going to do this. And I had already told my husband I wasn't going to do it, so I went back to him and I said, I can't say no. I'm trying, and I can't do it. And he's like, well, maybe you need to listen to that. Because he's glorious and wonderful and had already given me like full, extravagant, loving, welcome permission to do whatever I needed to do with his full, loving support. And so I was like, okay, I'm doing this. So I said yes, and like literally, I think right around the day.
Worst decision that you ever made, right, Namajin?
Terrible. It was horrific. No, it was the best thing that I've ever done in my entire life, by a long shot. As I said in my video testimonial, I'll say to anybody who will listen, I would pay that $10,000 over and over and over and over and over if it meant that I had to hold on to what I've gotten from it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
If I didn't do it again, if I didn't pay the $10,000 again, I would lose everything that I gained. I would be like, I will live on the streets. Like, that is the value for me personally that I got out of it.
We're so generous.
That's amazing.
the magic is so generous.
The magic is so generous.
The magic is so generous.
And the universe is so generous that it's not making me do that. Because it is nice to have a house.
On the record, we are not forcing Amajine's hand.
She's good now. She's in.
She's in.
Your membership is a subscription membership.
It's not, it's permanent. And that's the thing, is these people are my family, my loves, my soul tribe. My God, I've said over and over that, like, you are all the people that I've wanted and hoped for. I didn't even know to hope for it because I didn't know you existed.
Amen, sister.
Is the thing. And it just kills me now when I think back to being afraid that you wouldn't be my people. Like, you are so beyond my people. You are like my, like, starseed alien people. Like, we've been together for aeons and aeons, doing bizarre things in the universe. And I mean, I just want to talk real quick about, like, the moment that I knew I had made the right choice. I got to Miami still in kind of a state of dread for the first immersion. And a few weeks prior to that, I had had a super vivid, like, astral level dream, which I had 2 of these before, in the 2 months before going to the first immersion, which were my first ones ever. I had never had this level of dream, and those of you who've had them know what I'm talking about, where it's, like, so vivid, so real, the emotions are so intense, and you remember every bit of it when you wake up. And I had had this dream of being in a ritual, like, I was wearing a white toga-like thing, and I was up on a platform, and a bunch of us were sitting around a perimeter, and I don't know, somebody came in, I don't know if it was like the priestess or just the person who was at the center of the ritual, dressed as what I would later realize was Isis, but at the time had no fucking idea what I was looking at. But I was fully embodied in this person, in this dream that was not me, not current me. And when I woke up, I was just like, what was that? And when I got to Miami, I was like, I'm going to take myself, a few weeks after this dream, I'm going to take myself out for a nice brunch because I'm kind of freaking out and I'm going to treat myself. So I randomly picked this place in Miami Beach, which if you've been to Miami Beach, you know there's like 10,000 restaurants. And I was seated out on the patio and got my food. And as I was beginning to eat, the waitress led another woman my way. And I looked up and I saw her face. And I was like, I know her. And I looked back down at my food, like, totally freaked out because I had never had such a profound feeling of, like, I know her and she's going to sleep over mystery school. And, like, I had missed the calls before starting, so I had not, like, actually seen her on those. But it was this weird feeling, and I'm sitting there thinking, she was seated directly next to me. We were both alone at these 2 top tables right next to each other. And I was sitting there thinking, like, okay, I know she's going to sleep over mystery school, and I know her, but, like, how do I just turn to her and say this? I was, like, in this high sensation state of, like, this is a very bizarre situation. When she said to me, are you going to sleep over mystery school?
Who was it?
It was Laila.
I wonder.
Yeah. And I turned and I looked at her and I said, yes. And I knew that you were also. And we just fell into this vortex of, like, this is my sister, my ancient sister. And, like, we jumped into this incarnation and agreed to meet again in Miami at Sleepover Mystery School. And I was like, shit, this is going to be real. Because it was, like, locked and loaded in that moment before I even laid eyes on the venue or Carolyn or Laila or anyone. It was like the magic, the mystery had already started. And I knew that I had done absolutely the right thing. And I mean, it's only been wilder and wilder. If that sounds wild, I realized she was the, like, priestess woman, the Isis woman from my dream, by the way. That's the ending to that. Is eventually I looked at her face and I was like, it was you in my dream.
Amazing. I feel like the question that I want to, like, the thing that I, like, really want to ask anybody who's listening to this right now or in any future time, you know, like, money aside, like, I basically heard everyone here say some version of like, yeah, it seemed like a weird amount of money to spend, but I had it and I spent it anyway, or like I didn't know how I was going to have it, but like it never became a concern. Nobody ever was financially ruined by this program, despite the fact that your rational mind might be like, oh my god, that is like a huge barrier for me. Turns out it didn't become that for anyone. So the question that like I want to ask is like, why might you be dreading experiencing this insanely transformational level of love?
Yeah, people at home.
Why?
Why?
Why might you be dreading being so revealed and humiliated by just love?
It's a deep question.
It's a very deep question.
Thomas, I saw that you seemed to be thinking something while Amajin was talking. I was wondering what was coming up for you.
I just recognized that story, but I forgot that happened. And it just made me think of all of the crazy synchronicities that have surrounded us ever since we decided to join.
Could you lay one on me? Like, what was a crazy synchronicity that you experienced?
Well, for me, it was how I even discovered, like, the speed at which I discovered your work, Carolyn, and then Existential Kink, and then suddenly the Psalms campaign started. Like, it was just timed so perfectly. And then the card I kept pulling, the tarot card, was the Ten of Discs.
I pulled the Ten of Discs today.
Oh my god, see people.
It happens all the time. It happens all the time.
Right, and it was like, I just mentioned the 10 years of like spiritual putrefaction that I had, and it was like the start of a new cycle. Carolyn's program was called Wealth, and then it became Electric Yes, and that was the Electric Yes that I was feeling, and etc., etc. And that was all before I was even officially a member, so there was just this vortex, like Amajin describes, that we can all feel, that is real, that will continue to do things to us, even as this program has now officially ended. Like, we're still in it. So
well, now you're an initiated member of our magical order, so you know,
different vortices.
But so that's an interesting thing somatically, is if you feel that pull, feel the feeling. I felt the vortex also. Like, that was the actual, like, I'm signing up. Like, I don't even know why. And it was so fast. It was like I heard the voice, I heard Carolyn's voice, listened, experienced a little bit, but it was really like
this is the thing.
It was like being on the top of a roller coaster and being pulled downhill without my own volition.
Yeah, when you know, you know. Like, the other astral dream I had was David Bowie coming to me and telling me at the beginning of October last year, it's time to go. And I was like, David Bowie? I wasn't even a big David Bowie fan, okay? Like, I was like, he's super cool, super love him, but like, I just wasn't like my music ever that I had really gotten into. So it was very strange to see him show up in my astral realm experience while I was having lunch with a friend, and he was like, no, he was communicating with me telepathically, it's time to go. And then I got to the immersion and I told Laila about that, and she's like, oh, that was totally David Bowie who came to call you in to sleep over mystery school, because like Carolyn kicks around with him in the astral realm all the time. And I was like, yeah, I believe it. Like,
yeah,
at this
David
point.
Bowie's definitely in our magical order on the astral plane. We're definitely in David Bowie's magical order. And like I was saying, now you are all in the magical order. And I really just wanted to highlight for people who are listening now, because you all were in like a somewhat unique position of like, you know, jumping into something that had never happened before, truly mysterious. Anybody who's listening now or in the future is coming into an established thing that you all are now part of. And one of the things that we've been talking about so much this weekend in this training is really like revealing the ways that we don't want this to just be like a 9-month program that you paid this money for and then it's over and then you guys kind of have to just like be on your own and whatever. Like, it is a continuing culture of reverence for the mystery and love and community and like forever. And I guess I'm interested to just hear you all folks talk about like, what is it that you're so excited about the future? Like, if you could see 10 years down the line, like, how do you see this experience that you jumped into like blooming even further in your life?
Well, I'll speak just immediately to you know, I've never gone to a class, shall you say, where after the class, like, everybody in the class wants to keep hanging out. and like not just like, oh, we'll stay in touch, but like let's all rent an Airbnb and
Travel
and, like,
all
hang
across
out
for 3 days.
together for 3 days,
Yeah.
and then like every time, and like even if I never did anything else in the program, like you kind of just expect everybody to disperse, and that might happen, I don't know, but like in our group at least, I've been really impressed and just sort of astonished to see that the family that was cultivated like has its own momentum, its own cohesion, and it's just like it just feels like it's a living organism that wants to continue to live. And now that we're in this order, like feeling like that might continue to grow, and like 10 years out, like the idea that these people will fall out of my life seems a little bit absurd at the moment. Like it's just like they're part of my life now.
And how excited are you to meet the other super freaky weirdo people?
So
excited.
Like if they're anything like us, then
I want to talk about that because that is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Danny. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm generally pretty brief. So the question was like 10 years from now, how do we somehow see this? Something like that. And the thought that came to my mind was just like this joy of this energy, this culture expanding to the point where I know that I have siblings, like people that I deeply love anywhere. I can go anywhere and step into that with someone because I know that current is that strong, that is going to happen. And I'm so excited to continue to stay in that current because that was such a big fear for so many of us at the end of the 9 months of like, what next? And it's so wonderful how it's been evolving, and we've been able to evolve with it, and that's really cool.
People are like going places and meeting up in little groups, but like if I go to this city, I have friends. If I go to this city, I have friends, and like the more and more people that continue to become, if you will, part of the family, like the richer, the deeper, the network becomes.
I keep thinking of it as like a neural network. Yeah. Like we are reprogramming the brain and soul. Hello, by the way.
Katie decided to chime in. Hey,
I
Katie.
chimed in. Hello. I just feel like if there's anything that everybody could use more of right now, it's like kindness and empathy. And we are just like dispersing that all over like little dandelion clock seeds, like all going back to where we came from with this new perspective and like genuine love for people.
I just have
ourselves.
Such a strong feeling of this as an organism, and when through this ritual training it became apparent that we hadn't just been attendees that completed something, that we're now a part of this organism, and the vortex feeling of being sucked into mystery school feels opening and open, like it's getting bigger and bigger, and I feel us in the future actually as like the rites of Eleusis, right? Like the mystery school. I feel the actual throngs of people doing the work, the great work, like carrying that together in this fucking great, fun, sexy way. But I actually feel that it's already happened. Like it feels like it's already happened, and that feeling was like a huge emotional catharsis for me. Like, no, I didn't just like sign up for a class or a school. Like this is happening. This is like real time culture building and magical great work, and I am a part of that, and we're an organism, and it's fait accompli.
And you can too.
And you can too.
And also, we are speaking to like the awesome joiningness of this, and like how cool and awesome and amazing it is. And also, it's also still very secret and mysterious, and only the coolest, weirdest people are doing it. So you're not like
Not cool weirdos. Stay out.
Yeah, and like it's also still very exclusive, very cult, very fringe. So that is like it still has the secret.
You can still get in on the, ground floor, the grassroots. You can still be remembered as one of the glorious founding members. You can still, have
it's still early days in the 2,000-year history of our amazing cult.
Exactly.
So it's really like it's still very exclusive. So that appeals to you. That appeals to you.
Yeah, I wonder, Katie, would you like to tell more about answer the questions folks have been speaking to?
So the original question was you signed up for something that was, by all rational modern assessment, completely insane and totally irresponsible, and quite expensive considering that it's just fucking around doing magic.
You were promised absolutely nothing.
And you were promised absolutely nothing and told nothing at all about it except where to show up and who to pay. And I'm curious to know, like, what were your rational mind's objections and why are you super glad that you did not listen to that voice?
Yeah, no, that was the appeal. I am wildly irresponsible and insane, and so as soon as I saw, like, absolutely zero promises except that it'll be heckin' weird, I was like, yep, I'm in. I'm definitely in. I just had, like, a bone-deep certainty, like, that was for me. So that was very easy. I had no reservations. I also did not have the money, but that just was never going to be a problem for me. I just knew it was for me.
And was it a problem for you?
Oh my God, people could not stop throwing money at me afterwards. Like, within a day, someone offered to buy me a house. I got 3 raises in a month. It was, yeah.
Results are individual.
Results
3 raises?
In 1 month. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Weird.
I don't think I gave you enough last time. I'd really like to up that number. Like, that is not the kind of thing that happens to a wildly irresponsible person normally. So I definitely knew I was in the current.
I just really want to stress that for people who are listening who maybe applied and are like, maybe, or like, were applied and were accepted and are like, I don't know, like, I need to wait to see. Like, sometimes it's the insane yes commitment of like, I am doing this, that finally allows the universe to be like, okay, great, you're on board, we will make this happen for you. And all of the like, I don't know, I need to see, like, what's gonna happen, the universe is like, well, then nothing is gonna happen.
That is the surrender, right? It's like, you don't know how it's gonna work, but if you know it's if you know in your heart of hearts, you like, it's gonna have, you have to do it, then, and you surrender to that. Truly, the magic and the universe wants to be that generous and wants us there if it's correct. And I think for all of us, like, not to diminish the struggle that some of us had to be here, but it was correct in every single way that we could not imagine. We will continue not imagine from our, conscious, cerebral space.
Wow. I feel like, what a successful episode.
This has been a great slutty time with you all.
Yeah.
They
Wow.
were really awesome, so you're welcome.
I just really want to stress these are not paid actors. And in fact, they paid us to come party and be trained. So like, it's really like the opposite. Like, they just want you to understand so very much that this was something that changed their lives, and you can too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a quote that I wanted to read to you guys. That's William H. Murray, who was one of the first Europeans to climb successfully Mount Everest. And he says, until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there's one elementary truth, the ignorance of which would kill thousands of splendid plans, and that is that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would have never otherwise occurred.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Providence.
So once you move, you make that commitment, and then you don't know what's going to happen, but like, you set wheels in motion, and I really have seen that just over and over and over in my life, and I definitely found it to be something I experienced here. So I thought very appropriate for what you're saying.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Brody. Okay, gorgeous.
Once you move, I move, just like that.
You dip, I dip, we dip. Yeah, exactly. All right, glorious. Well, thank you so much, everybody. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. Everybody listening at home, we have 2 spots open for Sleepover Mystery School 2023. So I know that like a few hundred people listen to this podcast usually as soon as it gets published. If you are one of those people, it would be a good idea for you to go now and click right on the Sleepover Mystery School website, carolyngracelelliott.com/SOMS, SOMS. Fill out that application. If you haven't already, just get a move on if you're feeling the call. If you're listening to this later, you can do that too. It might not be full yet, but act now. And